We are fortunate to be joined by Elena Poleo,
Política Elena Poleo.
an activist and longtime journalist. Elena, thank you very much for coming in.
Hello, and welcome to the Career Moms Connect podcast. I am Elena Poleo, a communication specialist with over 20 years of experience, and I am so glad you're joining us for this podcast, where I will interview amazing women who love their jobs and their families. We'll talk about the challenges that women face in the workplace and at home and how they have overcome them. Hopefully, we can all learn a little bit from each of these fabulous ladies and feel a little bit less alone in this journey of working motherhood. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Careers Mom Connect podcast. I am so excited to have a wonderful journalist and mom here with us today, Alejandra Molina. She is an accomplished television reporter, mom of two wonderful kids. She is the news anchor for the daily evening news in Telemundo 51, the local station that serves the Spanish-speaking community in South Florida, which I may say is a very significant amount of people. She started her television career in journalism in 2005, and as a reporter, she has covered local, national, and international news, including a series Live from Haiti, which earned her an Emmy Award and recognition from the Associated Press. Thank you so much, Alejandra, for joining us here today.
Elena, I'm so excited to be here with you today. I loved talking with you the other day, and I couldn't wait to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I can't wait either, because everybody knows your public persona, you know, the hard-hitting investigative reporter. And now we're going to get a little bit behind the scenes about a working mom in a very demanding field and how you make it work, because that is why I created Career Moms Connect. This is a space where moms who work outside the home, who love their families, but also love their work and their careers, can come together and have conversations and hopefully learn from one another and not feel so alone. So thank you so much for making time. I know that you have to be at work in a couple of hours, so we are stealing a little bit of your free time here, and I really appreciate it.
Listen, I know that we need the support from each other. I love talking to other mothers who work, who have the same struggles that I do. And that way we have a little bit of hope and, you know, a little more strength to keep going. I think being a working mom is difficult, but staying at home is also difficult. Mm-hmm. And I think the path that we take in life, it's important to stick to make it count. And whatever sacrifices we make them count. So I love speaking with other mothers. I love speaking with you about, you know, the challenges that we face every single day of our lives. And yes, I hope to help anybody that can, you know, listen to the podcast.
That's exactly what you said, you know, that the sacrifices that we make, because let's make no mistake here. We make sacrifices. Every mom, whether she works outside the home or not, we make sacrifices every day. And like you said, staying at home is also difficult. So yes. We talk about working moms because that's what I am. That's what my mom was. So it's what I know. But, you know, shout out to all those moms that stay at home also. And some of them take some time off to go back to work. We've had some of those on the show as well. Like they're able to take time off to have their babies, and then they go back to work, and then they face a whole other new set of challenges.
So I tell you, sometimes even harder to stay at home.
Very, very, very difficult. So I want to talk about, first of all, you have two kids. What are their ages?
Well, I have three actually.
Oh, so sorry. You have three. That's right.
A whole year and a half ago, I have a little baby girl. I have two older boys. They both turned 14, the oldest, now in May. And also the middle one, he just turned 11 as well in May. And we have a little girl. She's 1.5 years old. So our hands are completely full. We are numbered.
So that's right. You had your surprise baby. Surprise.
Exactly.
And you got a little girl. So that's a blessing.
What a blessing. Yes.
So you've had a long, very impressive, award-winning career in journalism. How has being a mother perhaps changed your perspective to the stories that you report or how you do your job every day?
180 degrees, honestly. When it's just you and your husband, or when you're single, you don't have much fear in life. But when you have children, everything changes. Not only the fear of anything bad happening to them, But the moment that you're writing a story, that you're reading a story on camera, that you're working on a news report, things that happen to children, such vulnerable people in our society, it really hurts you and it really bothers you, and you get way more sensitive. When I hear stories about children being abused by adults, the horrible things that can happen, honestly, sometimes we are a little bit numb, because when you tell so many bad news every single day of your life and you see the, behind the scenes of what really goes on, and then you write a 20-second voiceover, you are very much in touch with the bad things that happen in life. So the moment that something like that happens to a child and you have to report on it, sometimes you cannot be numb anymore. And during the newscast, sometimes when it's a really, really bad story, I try to like close my eyes and think of something else, because it really, really affects you. Like, you can only think about something so horrible happening to your own family, and you can fathom that. So I think and I speak for many mothers in our industry, I see it happening a lot. It touches you a lot more. When I see a child who's suffering with illnesses, who need help from our community, those stories really get to you, and you wish that you could do a lot more. You feel frustrated that you cannot, for example, help them faster, get the help they need, come to this country perhaps to get, the medical attention that they need, or finding the funds to help them as fast as they need. For a mother, there's this urgency. I feel that us mothers were able to do many things at the same time. We rush, we see danger everywhere. So that translates absolutely 100% to the job that we do. And we see it every day.
Yeah, and that's so true. I remember when I was a reporter, I didn't have any kids, and it's just, even then, when you cover these human stories where these tragedies are happening to these families, it hits you so hard. And being a mother, I can't even watch movies where this is happening. To
Right.
like, if there's a sick kid or something, I don't
Yes.
watch the movie. I'm like, I can't do it. And I used to be so tough, and that's what
I know.
we used
Ever
to be
since I was
so tough.
pregnant, I would cry with commercials. So
Yeah.
things have changed a lot. You were mentioning a while back Haiti, the earthquake in Haiti.
Hmm.
I went to Haiti in 2010. I was married, but I did not have children. And now, 15 years later, I think about that experience that I lived there, the things that I saw there, the children that were hurt in front of me, that they were taken care of without anesthesia. They were, their wounds were taken care of in horrible, horrible conditions. And I could not imagine being a mother and being there again, reporting from such conditions, because it would be impossible,
Yes,
honestly. It really changes you.
it really does. It really does change you. And when we're in the front lines doing what you do, it does change the perspective. And like you said, there's a certain sense of urgency. Like, we have
Yeah.
to do something. It is,
Yes.
and that's the mom in us. We
Yes.
have to solve this problem for our child, or
Now.
the child becomes our child.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I am right there with you. Now, you anchored two primetime newscasts, right, in the evening.
Yes. Yes.
So that's late at night, right? So
Yes.
you work in the afternoons and late at night, and God forbid there is a hurricane, a shooting, elections, all the fun things that reporters have to cover, and therefore you don't own your time. You're like, I know what time I'm going there, but I don't know what time I'm leaving, right?
Yes.
How do you manage your late night schedule with being present with your family during the day? How have you been able to juggle that?
All those things that you mentioned are the fun things about our industry. You go to work, but you don't know what's going to happen. Anything could change in an instant. I've been in the station, and all of a sudden, you hear, oh, there's a shooting in a school. Run to the studio, breaking news. And you have to be there for hours and hours and hours. The hurricane, I remember the last hurricane we had 12-hour shifts, but we were on the air for 4 to 6 hours at a time. I remember we had to stay in the station. And on the last hurricane, they put us, the anchors at a close by hotel. And my family had to stay back. My husband with our two children, back then and our two big dogs. We have two golden retrievers. And I remember them showing up in the hotel with the dogs because they had no AC. So they were running to the hotel to stay with me. And those are things that I will never forget. We don't own our time. If there's a hurricane, instead of staying home and taking care of our own needs, we have to go to the station because that's our responsibility. That's how we do it. The time, I've always loved working at night. Since I started, I've been working at night, okay? But things change when you have children that start going to school.
Yeah.
You don't manage
You gotta be up early.
they wake up early. So by the time that I get home, 12:20 at night, because our newscast ends at 11:35 every night, they're asleep, obviously. And sleep is so important. The days that I wake up super early so that I'm able to physically see my children at 7 in the morning, it's really tough. It's really tough because then you cannot be drowsy. You have to be sharp. You have to be, ready to go at any moment when you're on air. And it's definitely difficult, but we make it happen. I hope my children in the future, they see how both their parents work so hard and we have that drive to do what we love every single day. And I hope they understand, but it's a big, big sacrifice on their part as well. Just last week, I was fortunate enough, the week before, I was fortunate enough to go to Rome to cover the conclave. It was a very important week in our lives because my oldest child, he was being confirmed that week. And I had to travel. I had to miss that day. Fortunately, we have amazing grandparents who are so involved in the lives of our children that they were able to be present there. I had a FaceTime with my son and his classmates because they go to a Catholic school, and I was right there in the Vatican. So I was able to show them around and show them what I was doing. And yes, it was okay, but I was not there. So it's a big sacrifice for the whole family. But hopefully, as I said, they understand in the future, in their own careers and their own life paths, that it is important to follow your dreams and to be driven in whatever you decide to do in life.
And what an example for your daughter as well as she gets older, to be able to be proud of her mom. Because like you said, when there is an emergency, the newscast has to go on. And it's even more important moments of emergency. I mean, you mentioned the school shooting. It is so unfortunate that we live in a country where school shootings happen all the time, way more than they should happen. And the news has to cover it because there are anxious parents awaiting news, and you're the one that gives it to them. Same thing with hurricanes. What do? We turn on the news, see what's coming. What do we do? Where is it? So you have a huge responsibility with the community, and we appreciate all the work that you do. And talking about, all the wonderful opportunities that you've had, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? Have you ever thought, oh, I'm not good enough? And how have you managed that situation?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, when I started, I knew nobody in the business. And I always felt that, you somehow to get in, the major stations, you had to know someone, you had to have a family member that would, give you the opportunity to start going there. I knew no one. So as soon as I started at FIU, I was 18 years old. I started looking around and I found this amazing station called America TV.
Yes.
Channel 41. And I knew they had a newscast. So I said, you know what? I'm going to show up there. I'm going to tell them that I need to learn, that I want to start early. I want to do an internship. Showed up, spoke to the producer, took a little bit of time, but they allowed me to go there. And they allowed me to go with the reporters, with the cameramen, to see how they would do their jobs. I started super early. I was super green. I had everything I learned about journalism, I learned in that station, watching older people way older than me, very huge professionals, people that I learned from so much. And of course, I always said, I am not ready. I am not, at their level, but I always was determined to learn. And I think one thing that is very important is, to be determined, to have confidence in yourself and knowing who you are and who you want to be and who you will be. So I always loved being able to work with people that had so much experience, people like Felix Guillermo, for example, people that show me, what a professional journalist is. the things that you do, the things that you don't do. And I think that really helped me a lot in my career. Of course, I've been nervous, I've been scared, I've been, worried to mess up, especially working with these people. And fortunately enough, I have been able to learn from them. I've had to, work my way through and, make mistakes, obviously. But ultimately, I think believing in myself, being confident, even when I was not as prepared, but I working hard every day, showing up every day, working on holidays, not being afraid of taking the challenge. Even when you're afraid, do it. Don't miss opportunities. Those things really help me grow in my profession.
And it's going ahead and, like you said, showing up even when you're afraid. Like you're afraid, everybody feels fear, but show up and do it. Just do it. And you started, and you took you went and you took your future in your own hands. And as an 18-year-old kid, instead of partying it up, you went to,
oh my God, yes,
and asked for like internship.
I remember when I was young, I was showing up on, July the 4th, the 4th of July to work, and the actual reporters were not there. And I was there, and I went to work, and, I make the best out of it.
Yes.
I think it was
and then you ended up moving up in that channel that ended up giving you your first opportunity, on-air opportunity.
Immediately. And my first story was at FIU, so it was a full circle moment. It was one of the happiest days of my life when I was able to finally be on camera. That was a big accomplishment for me. Also, they gave me the opportunity of being anchor just at 21, 22 years old. That was a huge responsibility, and I embraced it with everything I had. And I've always been very grateful and appreciative of the opportunities that I've had. Also in Channel 51, where they called me after 12 years anchoring the main newscast at Channel 41, our amazing GM, Jorge Carballo, he called me and he said, I want you to work for my station. And I left everything behind. I left the main news anchor desk and I went to work in the morning show. And I did that for a year. That was another incredible experience. I had never, worked in such a big network with resources and the support that you have with so many different newscasts being
for the listeners, she went from a local station to a Telemundo, which is a national station. So that in that case, which is affiliated with NBC.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of support. You're no longer in the small leagues, you're in the big leagues now. Some of your stories can get picked up at national. So there's a lot, it's a big jump.
Yeah, I've been able to do, stories and report live also for NBC6. That was another huge challenge because I've worked in Spanish my whole life. I've never had that experience of doing it in English. And of course, with my accent and all that, not having the, being used to doing that, it's always scary. But, I've had amazing support from our station. And that's why I love working there so much every single day of my life.
And that, it's funny because I saw something the other day that says somebody, you may laugh at me because I have an accent, but that means that I speak at least 2 languages, right? So like, it's a huge superpower to be able to be bilingual, and your career has benefited from that. You're able to move in both worlds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Times are changing. Yes.
And what do you think right now is your biggest challenge as a mom and a news anchor, and how are you navigating it?
Managing time, of course, managing time. Yeah. I think the lesson for me is take one day at a time. We get overwhelmed with everything. I'm at work and I'm like, ordering stuff for my kids' projects and FaceTiming him, my son, every day when he leaves school, telling me while I'm still writing or doing my makeup, about his day, talking to him, being present as much as I can. And on the weekends, I try to just dedicate my time to them. But it's difficult. Yeah. Managing time is the most difficult. My other lesson is, and what I've learned that I've been able to be successful in what I do, is asking for help.
Oh my God, yes.
Asking for help. We're so lucky.
Say it again.
You have the grandparents. Can you please stay with Amelia today because she's sick? Because, I don't like to miss my job. I like to go there every day. And if one day my daughter needs me, then yes, I stay. But if it's something that it doesn't require my presence because it's not something grave or anything like that. My parents are so, I'm so grateful to them that they're able to stay with my daughter, or my husband. My husband is incredible. I have to, be so thankful that I have such a partner, that he's the one taking care of the babies at night. And you as a mother know how difficult it is to take care of kids at night, when they have to be bathed, they have to eat, they have to go to bed early, they have to do homework. It's a lot of work. And yes, we have, people that help us as well in the house and with the homework and all that. But being present as a parent, that responsibility of being a parent who's present, it's managing like a little business, so you need all the help that you get.
And that is so important. I think choosing the right partner for
Yes.
ambitious, driven women who also want to be moms, choosing the right partner is, I think, one of the biggest decisions you can make in your life that will affect whether you'll be able to be successful or not. And I think,
Let me tell you, my husband, he has huge responsibilities as work. At work, he manages a couple of companies that he has created, and I don't know how he does it. He finishes working, and then he, takes care of all the 3 kids, and he doesn't complain one day. He does not complain at all. I don't know if I could do that.
he knows that he's a lucky guy.
I'm very lucky. I am very lucky to have him, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think having the right partner
Yes.
can make or break your
Absolutely.
life, your career. And the time management and time management is something that I think all moms, whether they stay at home or work outside, especially if they work outside of the home, time management is such, it's always a challenge. And I think that idea of just taking it one day at a time and not getting overwhelmed, I have to remind myself of that every day. So thank you for that reminder. And asking for help for everybody that is lucky enough to have grandparents that are close by and that are able and healthy enough to take care of your kids. We also have we have a nanny, we outsource some of the stuff that we can't when we're both working. We also have my mother-in-law, thank goodness, who can come and stay with the kids. But we had to go out and get a nanny because we knew it was either that or one of us is going to have to stay home.
Absolutely.
And it just, our schedules are also very unpredictable. Unpredictable.
I understand you.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You can get, somebody that can help you with the basic things that don't require your presence.
Right. And we feel guilty always, as mothers. I think many of us feel guilty of that. Am I a good mother? Am I good enough? When your kid calls you and they say, oh, but why don't you pick me up from school? Other mothers do it. Maybe not every mother works outside the home. Sometimes mommies can go and pick you up from school, but unfortunately at that time I am working. Or if they call me and I'm live on air at that time, baby, I'm sorry, I cannot answer the phone right now. Because you have to understand, you're not speaking to another adult, you're speaking to a little kid who misses you. And when I started working at night, it was very difficult for my middle child, because he really loved having me here at night, putting him to bed, seeing him every single day. And, he's a little more attached to me. So it was very difficult. And he would call me, and we would have very difficult conversations. And he's very sensitive, and I would have to tell my husband, you know what, go sit with him a little bit, talk to him, because I would feel bad, and it makes you question a lot, how we dedicate time in our lives, to what we dedicate time.
Yes.
Is work, the most important thing in your life every day, or is it your family? Is it your children? Who you give your time to? It's a very big component of that. And I think I try to manage the time as much as I can. During the day, I put my mommy hat on with my daughter. I fix stuff around the house. I try to, have walks with her, do things that it make me feel that I am enjoying the time. And then I change clothes and drive to work, and I'm, giving my focus to my job. And sometimes
you change your brain chip.
Yeah, it's a switch, switch half of the day.
That's you do like a switch, and that is so difficult. We've gone days where we have to go to conferences and we won't see the kids for 4 days, and it's difficult. Not to mention that it's like a logistical nightmare. People who can take kids to school, pick them up, help them with homework. It's so much work. It's
I
so
know,
much.
I know. I bet a lot of people have the same feelings, and some people that have to, mothers that are. I think a lot about single mothers, how they manage not
Oh,
only with their time but financially. Some women that have to have, two jobs at a time, and they go through the same things. And sometimes we complain about things, and we don't realize that other people have it way more difficult, and they don't have perhaps the resources, help that they need, and they don't have the grandparents to help them. And I think a lot about that, and I try to make a note of myself of not to complain, because I know how difficult it can get. And as you have children, you realize how much help you need, because you cannot do it at all alone.
no. And though, yeah, to me, single mothers are super, they're superheroes. My mom was a single mom. It was just me. So I was just one, but it was one, it was just on
Mhm.
her own. So I think, and I see single moms and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. So I always try
Mhm.
to be available, like for pickups and in case they need it, because I can't imagine not having anybody to ask, with parents that are either dead or they don't live in the same city.
Right.
It's very, very, very difficult. I mean, they are definitely the superheroes. So shout out to all the single moms out there. And the guilt, this guilt, we talk about
Yes.
guilt. I had a friend who told me, oh, I don't feel guilt. It is a useless emotion. And I agree that it's useless, but
Yes.
I cannot control feeling it.
Right.
I still feel
You
it.
can't. You can't. It always goes through your head.
Yep. And I think that, that the guilt is something that mom guilt is a big thing. I
Yes.
don't hear anybody talking about dad guilt, you know, nobody has dad guilt, but mom guilt is a thing, right? People talk about,
You feel guilty about everything. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
We don't talk about dad guilt. So what advice would you give other working moms who
Mhm.
are in, high stakes careers such as yours, to try to, make the best of it?
I think what I've learned is to, as I said, take it one day at a time, breathe, compartmentalize, try to be organized with your time. My Google Calendar, it's my great reminder of putting things together. Take it one day at a time, breathe and relax, because sometimes I feel overwhelmed and I've realized that's not helpful. I try every day to, take time to dedicate to my children, to be present the way that I can. Ask for help, absolutely. My number one recommendation: find people that can help you, people that you can hire, or people that you have around you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes we're embarrassed, or we want to do everything ourselves, and we can't. And being overwhelmed is not a good feeling, because you're not helping anybody. So, and have your priorities very clear. I think that's important. Focus on your job when you have to focus on your job, when things are important and they matter. And also, don't worry about the rest. you know
Mhm.
Sometimes you worry too much about things that don't matter in life, and you worry about this, or you feel a certain way. You have to learn little by little, and I guess that happens to everybody as they grow older.
Right.
As we grow older, we understand ourselves more, and we understand how to stop negative feelings, how to, tell ourselves who we are every single day, how to be confident, how to understand that we're doing the best that we can. Give ourselves a little bit of space, because sometimes we feel so guilty and so overwhelmed that you might feel like you're not doing anything good. You're not dedicating all your time to your job. You're not dedicating all your time to your children or to your husband. We have this mentality that we have to be perfect at every single thing.
Yes.
And let me tell you, for me, happiness in my personal life is being balanced. But balance for me is, doing a little bit of the things that I need to do to feel balanced every single day. And that could be exercising a little bit, taking care of the things that I eat, cooking a little bit more at home instead of ordering every single day from Uber Eats. That makes me feel guilty too.
Yeah.
But then I want to be the cook, but I don't have time to be the cook. So take it one day at a time. Focus on the things that you can do each day to be a better mom, to be a better wife, to be a better person. And also give yourself a break.
Oh,
Forgive yourself for the mistakes that you make, and give yourself a little bit of space and the opportunity to not be so hard on yourself.
That is, we are our harshest critics.
Yes.
Our worst critics. So sometimes I think about, and something that has helped me is when I'm talking to myself, think about me telling that to a friend. Would I ever do that?
Yes.
I would never tell them that.
I'm like, stop it. It.
You would never speak to a friend that way. So why are we speaking to ourselves that
way?
Exactly. So that has helped me a lot. Like, okay, wait, no, I would never tell a friend that. Then I'm not going to tell myself that. How would I tell a friend? And I would always usually tell them, give yourself a break. You're not perfect.
Why are you so hard on yourself,
Mm-hmm. And that is across the board. Every single woman that I've spoken to in this podcast and off the podcast. This, like, we're so hard on ourselves. So we're going to work on that. We're going to work on not being so hard on ourselves. We're going to work on not being overwhelmed and taking it one day at a time. I love that. Thank you so much, Alejandra, for joining us today and for sharing all of your experiences. And if you're listening or if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening or watching, and you know a friend or a family member that perhaps feels a little bit overwhelmed with being a working mom, then please share this episode with them. Share them, remind them that you're thinking of them, remind them not to be so hard on themselves, and send them this episode. Alejandra, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for everyone that is watching and hearing.
Thank you so much, Elena, for having me. I love this conversation. You give a lot of support to women like us. And I think it's so important that people listen to podcasts like this, because ultimately we need all the help that we can get. We're all in the same boat and we need to support and love each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alejandra. And thank you all for listening, and make sure that you share. Have a great day.